Inside Racing is brought to you by Dunlop.
Inside Racing, all set for the second stint. Shortly we take you to a mechanic's workshop from the 1960s. Now, fast and firmly in the saddle, the Nina X. For once, very cliched. Women love fields of flowers and are interested in horsepower. In the case of this woman, correct on both counts. She studied biology and is now one of the best known and most successful female racing drivers in the world.
Je ne sais pas exactement d'où vient le goût de la vitesse et le goût du risque parce que
I don't really know where my love of speed comes from, as when I was young I was frightened of everything, of speed and height. I didn't dare do anything, but then as a teenager you try out all sorts. You learn, gain experience and get to know yourself better.
Quand on se découvre, quand on a envie de faire de nouvelles expériences.
My enjoyment of speed probably began with skiing. I love skiing, and at some point this addiction to speed took me behind the wheel.
Et puis par la suite sans doute au volant de la voiture.
Today, it's her profession, and she's a sought-after test driver, as here, doing Dunlop winter testing on a frozen lake. Yet this diminutive woman didn't enter motorsport until the age of 21, and then only by chance.
C'est vraiment une question de coïncidence.
Well, it truly was a matter of chance. I got to know a driver who became pregnant. She needed someone to stand in for her and suggested me. The Nina X in Belgium in motorsport? That would be special. That would interest sponsors. I said yes right away and then learned everything from scratch. And I've simply stayed with it. I've driven in some great races like the Paris-Dakar, the 24 Hours of Le Mans and a few single-seater races. That was fantastic and all just through chance.
Monoplace, enfin j'ai fait beaucoup de belles choses. Mais c'est surtout dû au hasard.
In 2006 and 7, she drove for Audi in the DTM. Just a brief and unsuccessful digression. She feels far more at home in endurance racing, as if she had it in her blood. She's already raced 6 times at Le Mans, in 2009 as the only female driver.
C'est vraiment la discipline dans laquelle je me sens bien.
It's in this discipline that I feel most comfortable. You need lots of stamina and a whole heap of strategy.
C'est pas mal de stratégie.
Le Mans, very much to her taste. She shares this passion with her father Jackie X, who won here 6 times.
Évidemment, je suis fière de porter ce nom et d'avoir un papa comme le mien.
Of course, I'm proud to bear this name and to have such a father. He made it possible for me to get into motorsport. Otherwise, I probably never have started. But without being assertive, you don't get far. I had to use it all. Femininity, name, talent, and lots of hard work to get as far as I have.
Et talent, plus travail évidemment, pour arriver jusqu'ici.
The capital of the European Union. Vanina lived here with her family for many years.
Bruxelles, c'est là que j'ai grandi, c'est ici que je suis née.
Brussels is home. I was born and grew up here. It's where I used to play tricks and where I kissed a boy for the first time.
De mauvais coups, c'est ici aussi que j'ai embrassé mon premier garçon.
My family and friends live here. My whole life is here.
C'est ici que vit ma famille, que j'ai mes amis, donc c'est toute ma vie.
Prejudice often keeps women away from motorsport, the hurdles in the fast lane being too big, even at an early age.
Quand on est petit,
when you're small, girls prefer to play with dolls and boys with cars. Perhaps it's genetic or to do with how you're brought up and social norms.
Après, il y a une question d'éducation, de société, des mentalités à changer. Mais je ne pense pas que ce soit vraiment une question de...
The mentality has changed now, and I don't think it's a question of ability, as there are several women in motorsport these days, such as Denisa Petruk in the USA and the ones in DTM, who are doing very well. Formula One is still waiting for its first woman, but I think that's soon going to change.
Sa prochaine femme, je pense que ça va arriver.
Flower Girl? Far from it. Vanina X, firmly in the motorsport saddle. Now, His two-stroke three-cylinder own designs got the big names angry. Inside Racing brings you previously unseen footage from the life of genius mechanic and racer Gerhard Mitter. With his Super 8 camera, Gerhard Mitter kept a detailed record of everything. The gifted racing driver, mechanic and DKW dealer from Böblingen in Germany is a man we've featured on Inside Racing before. The two-stroke cars from Ingolstadt were ideal for racing purposes and affordable as well. A great basis therefore for Mitter's own designs.
Durch den DKW-Vertrag dann später, sprich Händlervertrag.
Through the DKW contract, later a dealer contract, he developed a Formula Junior car based on the DKW, and he was very successful with it right from the outset. We had a racing division in Böblingen, which was actually just specifically there to build racing engines and maintain racing cars. In fact, during his active DKW days, he sold 140 tuned-up engines all around the world.
Verkauft, getunte Motoren verkauft in alle Welt.
The Mitter DKW was very competitive. With up to 80 horsepower, the car had no trouble holding its own in the Formula Junior field. While the others experimented with four-stroke, four-cylinder engines from Cosworth and Abarth, Miller kept unflinching faith in the two-stroke concept. Fewer moving parts, no valves and high revs. Later, he and his mechanics fitted the engines into the Lotus 18 chassis.
Die Fahrzeuge wurden in der Rennabteilung vorbereitet.
The vehicles were prepared in the racing division. The car then went onto the trailer and they drove to Malmsheim, to the former airfield, where the car was then tested. A racing car building adventure. From the Mitter men, it was clear a three-cylinder two-stroke engine had real potential. A two-stroke engine has a fundamentally smaller build and is thus lighter, and as I said, the tuning facilities were there. You could build the engine very quickly using simple means. For Formula 2, in 1964 came Mitter's coup de main. He built a four-cylinder two-stroke engine with up to 130 horsepower, over 10 horsepower more than the others. Here it is. Size-wise, it's smaller than an inline four-cylinder engine. It's all more compact. The weight is more compact, which of course is important for a racing car. The engine's got four cylinders, as I said, and dual ignition due to the large individual capacities of 250 cc per cylinder. It's got four individual crankshafts. It's controlled by rotary valve and naturally water-cooled. It was extremely sensitive to the weather. A two-stroke engine needs a lot of oxygen to really work, so when it was cold and damp, its chances were always good. Its stability, too, was not always marvelous. The engine was powering this Lotus. Sadly, however, it was never used in a real race, as the costs simply became too high. From 1964, Porsche made use of Mitter's technical expertise. He and the company's engineers worked together fruitfully. Porsche had already become aware of Mitter a few years earlier. He was overall winner on the Gaisberg in a Formula Junior car, beating the RSK Works Porsche. And so Huschke von Hanstein evidently got out his little black book and made a note of his name. That happened again several times as he repeatedly got the hill climb record with supposed